literally 2 days afterwards apologized to somebody that you consider your peer. He considers J. Cole his peer.
Yeah.
I mean, he considers Kendrick Lamar his peer. To apologize to that person and be like, I didn't really mean to say that. And, I'm not really, I'm really in class with these dudes. Like, the bravado of anything else that you say
Gone.
is hollow. Like, you said that, but you 2 days afterwards, you said this. So I just felt like it actually just totally
reframed the whole project.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how that album fits into the context of that artist's career. For all people watching on YouTube, we love the love. Thank you for joining us. Of course, like this video, leave us a comment, and make sure you are subscribed. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather, and we're here with His Royal Highness, King Grant.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. People, we are here for the second time. This is the second time we're reviewing this person's album.
Mm-hmm.
J. Cole might delete later. Something that I feel as though when people are listening to this review will be thinking it might already be gone.
I'm screaming.
Because J. Cole has released this mixtape. He said EP when he was at Dreamville, but it's 10 songs or 11 songs. So basically a mixtape. And he has decided to regale us with some of the things that he feels in the moment. I'm trying to put it as lightly as possible. Regale us with the things that he feels in the moment. I think that he is definitely putting this out as like a teaser almost for the fall off, which is allegedly still on the way. I'm saying alleged because we're in a very squirrely time of J. Cole's career overall.
We don't know
honestly.
what happened at this point.
Yeah, literally anything can happen because after the diss track that he had released at the very end of this project, called 7 Minute Drill, he is apologized for his 7 Minute Drill diss track. So I did not think that shit was happening ever.
The apology?
No. So the fact that we're even here tells me that we're in uncharted territories when it comes to J. Cole. So everything is a legend, everything is supposed, everything is a maybe. I have no idea what's going to go on. What did you feel about the surprise drop of this mixtape?
I think this whole part of J. Cole's career is uncharted territory, for being honest.
Is this his first time ever doing
first time doing a surprise drop?
Okay.
So already then it's kind of like that's new from J. Cole. And I think as well, a lot of these songs had the internet buzzing. So I think this was the right way to do a surprise drop because a lot of people loved these snippets that were online on YouTube and they wanted these full songs. And then to end it with the diss track to Kendrick, I thought, okay, interesting choice, but I feel like no better to pair a diss with a full album of new music. We haven't seen a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good choice. So I was surprised like everybody else. And I think to me, this not being the fall off and hearing some of these songs we heard a bit of before being on here, I think to me I was excited. I said, okay, that means that the fall off must have something better than what's on here.
Yeah, when this came out, first of all, I was genuinely shocked. I was totally prepared for Bryson Tiller.
Aren't you happy that this happened?
I was mentally preparing to be reviewing Bryson Tiller, which we will be doing we'll be doing a mini in the second part of the album podcast. But I think that I was prepared for that. So when this dropped, I was actually asleep. I had to wake up and realize, holy shit, that this is happening. I think I was like really in my bed, right? Just scrolling through Spotify. And then I saw this album and I'm like, I'm going to pass out. But I remember I sent you the text. I'm like, J. Cole surprise album.
Well, wait, that's when you saw it?
Yes.
Okay, so you're pretty late.
I was in bed about to sleep and I'm just like, yo, this just came out. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Right? And then I woke up and I'm like, oh! So that's my experience with this album. I think that surprise drops are fun. Drake has done one. Beyonce has done one. I do think J. Cole is the caliber.
Yes, for sure.
To be able to do this and people actually being like totally tapped in. When I did wake up and I was on Twitter, everything was like 8 hours ago, 6 hours ago, 5 hours ago. So people were paying attention to it right when it dropped.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that is good. I think it was overall good strategy for him when it comes to like his marketing or whatever. And I was very, very much happily surprised. I was happily surprised.
I think this is the second year in a row they've done this because last year it was the Dreamville EP that dropped the weekend of the Dreamville Fest.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is kind of something they're doing now. It seems like, at least.
I didn't even notice that.
So I do like that they're dropping something right when the festival is about to start. I want to get basically right into production because I feel like this is a loaded album review. But this is one of the few albums that almost had two different listens. Because before J. Cole apologized and said, everyone make noise for Kendrick Lamar, this was a totally different listen.
Yes, it was.
And I think that J. Cole fan or not, it's rare that an album basically has the whole context of it changed within 48 hours. And so we're doing this review after the apology happened instead of before the apology happened. But I think that this is an album that I've really thought about how music has aged differently in this past decade because there's a context of the diss to Kendrick, which some people had some problems with.
Yeah.
I thought was fine. Then there's a context of this apology, which is one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think that these are things that I feel like will age with this album. And I think that when it comes to the context of a project, those things don't always age with a project. Yeah. I think the one thing I remember is the beef between Kanye and Pusha and Drake leading up to Scorpion. I think we remember now Scorpion as having some of these big hits on it and it being this great selling album. But, you know, that was the lead up to Scorpion was the beef.
Yeah.
And J. Cole has kind of found himself in a similar position. And so I think that's a part of this as well is we've seen how these beefs have, in my opinion, made Drake's projects worse. And I think that J. Cole was kind of having his Drake moment in a sense where there's a beef he's in leading up to a project. And so I thought this was interesting because...
Let's do the lyrics first. I think we should do the lyrics first because we're already talking about the lyrics. Go ahead.
I think this is interesting because I'm basically going to stand on the review that I had before he apologized.
Okay.
I think that was, to me, the last time I can probably review the music as just the music. I think what J. Cole did, just from a rap perspective, was an absolute no-no.
Yeah,
that's one of the unwritten rules.
Yeah, that the fact that he got on stage and apologized to somebody that he was beefing with, I guess, is a little bit aggressive because Kendrick Lamar kind of sent out, the shots fired, right? And then J. Cole decided to reply. He did not have to do that.
He didn't have to do that.
He did not have to do that, right? I think that is probably the most important thing to highlight here is that you do not need to respond to the diss. You don't have to. Yeah. You can be like, for a long time, Drake was like, if you diss me, you'd never hear a reply. Yes. Until it got later in his career where then he started to shoot back at people, right? J. Cole, he had already beefed with somebody before, no name, lost the beef.
Okay.
He got handled.
Okay.
She told him to read a book and he had nothing else to say after that. But now somebody else, comes at him, Kendrick Lamar, and I feel as though you don't need to reply every time, right? You already got daughtered by no name. You didn't need to go after Kendrick Lamar. I feel like unless you really have the animosity or you really have the, sometimes the dirt. Pusha T had the dirt and the animosity. Then I get it. But when you're in this like half warning shot, half I didn't really want to diss him type of situation, this is where you now get caught up in a situation where you're apologizing for a diss that you didn't truly mean and you didn't truly feel in your heart of hearts, and people are looking at you crazy.
Yeah, seeing his apology now, I go back to what you said of he didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
And when we were trying to do our guesstimate of what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, when we did our sound bites right when Kendrick dropped like that, we were like, who's going to drop first? How hard are they going to go? Who's it going to be? And it's so funny before he apologized, when this diss dropped, I thought to myself, you know who's really going back and rewriting their verse? Is Drake. Like, we're talking about Kendrick running to the studio and all those jokes are coming up.
Yeah.
Drake is the one who heard this shot and said, oh, and rewrote his thing. So him apologizing after that, I thought was crazy. I think for lyrics, it makes sense for me to start at Pricey.
Yeah.
Because J. Cole is talking a certain type of talk all over this project.
Yeah.
And now after he apologizes, it all sounds so different.
It sounds really hollow. Like, it doesn't sound real anymore.
Empty threads.
It really is, yeah, because a large part of hip hop is, I would say currently and in the much more in the past, a large part of hip hop was like, I'm the best.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where we have a history of the genre where it's like, I'm the GOAT.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
J. Cole has spent, I would say, a sizable amount of his career saying he's the best, which is totally fine. Because I want to say 50 to 60, 70% of the rappers that exist have said that at some time in their career. And on this album, he's like, nobody should fuck with me. I'm the best. Like, you know, nobody can touch my pen, blah, blah, blah. But to say that, but then also literally 2 days afterwards, apologize to somebody that you consider your peer. He considers J. Cole his peer.
Yeah.
I mean, he considers Kendrick Lamar his peer. To apologize to that person and be like, I didn't really mean to say that. And, you know, I'm not really, you know, I'm really in class with these dudes. Like, the bravado of anything else that you say
gone
is hollow. Like, you said that, but you 2 days afterwards you said this. So I just felt like it actually just totally
reframed the whole project. Yeah. And the sad part is, I do think we're gonna get over this with him, and I do think that he will recover from this to kind of look ahead. But this reminds me of the many times in hip hop when it came out that some way, some form, someone wasn't living their rhymes. I remember it happened to Rick Ross in the mid 2000s when people found out that he was a correctional officer, and it came from, he's talking all this boss talk when he really was a CO. This is interesting. I think about 6ix9ine. When you know what? Not to compare J. Cole to 6ix9ine. I'm sorry, J. Cole fans, but 6ix9ine when he was talking all this gangster talk, and as soon as he came out of jail, it was like, okay, we can't hear that no more. That's over with. But on here, one thing I thought was really cool is that he connected the first song to the last song in terms of some of his disses. Okay. And there were some of these references that he made on Pricey that you hear again in 7 Minute Drill. Now, he starts off with this. On verse 1, he says, you know, if I want it, I'd be John Gotti with the henchman, right? I mean, it's simple math, a bit of cash, get a nigga bag, then don't make you big and bad, just mean you rich and mad. Nigga, your pillow soft, so kill the boss talk. Me to use a cyanide pill to a little cough drop. There's a few in there where he's going at Kendrick's height a bunch, which some of my favorite bars. The part in 7 Minute Drill he says jump up and see. Yeah. It's like those bars in there are just what I wanted from this rap battle. Those little punches that it shouldn't really hurt Kendrick's feelings, but it's like just an extra little something to add in there. I'm a cyanide pill to a little cough drop. Yeah. Like, you know, we get what you're saying there, J. Cole. And then on verse 2, he says, breaking news, I've officially entered my prime, which is really interesting. This is the point a rapper would typically start to decline. Somehow I climb. That part I think is still true. And that's what makes this kind of so hard to listen to is I thought J. Cole was entering his prime as a rapper. I thought when it came to who can actually rap the best, he had a claim to fight in there. Now, career, I think he's a little bit behind Drake and Kendrick, but in terms of just rapping, I thought he could hang there. And how I compared it to is, look at, you know, in the NBA, we have a few other statesmen who are still great. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. I would say in this, J. Cole is a Kevin Durant. But this is as if Kevin Durant had won the last 4 MVPs. Maybe no championships like Steph and LeBron, but 4 MVPs. Because I think J. Cole has been the best rapper of the past 5 years in both of those guys. And so to see him, I guess, claim that on the intro, boost about it all over this, it's like, okay, we see a second prime coming, almost when LeBron joined the Cavs of, okay, he's not done. Yeah. There's more to his career. And I don't think J. Cole's career is done.
Me neither.
But I do think that as true as this is literally, it just doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, I do feel like we're doing our review in reverse because I'm like, I feel like this is gonna harm his career. I think.
So you think?
Yeah, I think that this is gonna be a big deal. It already is a big deal. I do see people kind of retconning it, where people are like, oh, he's an older dude now, and you like the apologies, like he was weighing on his mental. You got to take care of your mental, blah blah blah. That's not hip hop.
Wow,
I'm not that person. Everybody who knows me and has listened to this podcast knows I'm not that type of person. But
this is hip hop.
That's not hip hop, bro.
You know what's crazy? I feel so bad yelling at a grown man for apologizing.
Yeah,
but there are just some rules that it can't be broken. Yeah,
it's not like it wasn't going to escalate to Biggie and Tupac level. Like it was just not.
He didn't want to lose a friend, okay?
And nobody thought it was going to. I don't think a single person thought it was like, this is true animosity, big time. People are going to start getting after each other.
Before you get into your lyrics, one last thing. This is not looking good on the two light skins. This is very reminiscent to me of when Drake went on The Shop and was feeling emotional about Pusha T's reply and said, I wrote some bars, but I didn't feel good about them.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like that was the man I wanted to be. And we should be championing the growth from both of these men, almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
Talking about feeling hurt from the things they said in records that have not been made public. But I'm sorry, I'm healed, but I ain't that healed. So that's one more thing I think is a big I guess demerit on both of their points, because this really reminded me of when Drake said a lot of stuff about Pusha T. Now the difference is J. Cole released this song.
Yeah.
But I think for these guys to have these regrets about their battles so soon, I don't know, if Jay-Z has some regrets about his battle with Nas now, that's fine. They're both a lot older. J. Cole couldn't even get 48 hours until he had his regrets. Drake was a few months. So that is my issue with these two.
Yeah, I think I want to point to one other lyric that started to get this weird feeling after the apology of the diss track. We need to dive into the diss track after this, but we'll do a little bit of a dive into the diss track. But it was on Sticks and Stones, okay, where he's like, foreign deposit safes, I'm writing this shit on a private plane. Sometimes I be flying commercials still. These niggas get rich and become so detached. They music start having that surface feel. Not a subliminal, speaking in general. Feelings get hurt when words get spilled. Sticks and stones may break your bones, which is such a lame line to say in a rap. But sticks and stones may break your bones, but saying my name in a verse will kill. I feel like it doesn't make any sense anymore. It actually does. The apology, the meta narrative, now hurts the album's narrative, right? Because of what happened in real life. That section, I think, is the first verse. It doesn't resonate anymore. It doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't. And the idea behind like not a subliminal, speaking in general, kind of like also makes it sound like almost scared, right? Like you're almost scared to actually address people. This is what I'm talking about, where I'm like, that meta narrative is damaged. Like a lot of what he does. Maybe in the future, 5 years from now, when all this is behind us, right? This will just be like, oh, remember when they were beefing and J. Cole did that? Yeah. But then, the album will be detached from the exact moment. You'd be like, this is just a dope section. But today, and we're reviewing it today, that shit, it's hollow. It's just so hollow now.
I had that in my notes. Sticks and Stones is the number one song to me that doesn't sound the same. Yeah. that's the number one. I think Sticks and Stones was one of those songs where the first listen before all this happened, I listened to that and I said, how many rappers are rapping like this? Right. Period. Age, genre, none of rappers are rapping like this, period. And this is the kind of rapping that I understand why J. Cole feels he can hang with anybody. This is the kind of rapping that does that. So that's the one that sounds the most different after his apology. I want to talk about some lyrics on 7 Minute Drill. Yeah. Because to me, and I guess this is example number 10 of when I feel like the internet should know something and they don't. I thought 7 Minute Drill was a flex in the first place because he's mentioned that 7 Minute Drill a bunch of times. Now, I didn't know that T- also did 7 Minute Drill, which is another flex. But to me, I thought that was a flex in the thought of this is my rap flex that you, the rapper Kendrick, will understand. I wrote this diss in 7 minutes.
Right.
This is not even me really trying. You've been planning for months. Like, you see what I mean? So to me, I thought that's why I thought it was, first of all, it's crazy to go at Kendrick's albums. That's just a no-no. You shouldn't do that. But I thought outside of that, this was a credible diss and had me ready for what was to come, because I thought this is becoming to rap because he's finding a way to flex to Kendrick. Yeah. Look how good I rap. I did this quickly in my sleep, not much thought. You've been planning for months. This had us through together. And especially the second half, I thought the second half is when it was kind of like,
which part?
I'm about to get to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the second half, are you talking about the 4 albums part? The 4 albums in 12 years? Because that's the part that was like...
that's a recycled bar. That's a Jay-Z line.
No, I know it is. But also, when you're attacking Kendrick Lamar's discography, that is like the worst. That's like trying to, I don't know, shoot like bullets at a bulletproof glass. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
I think the worst part is the beginning when he calls, the albums boring or overrated. That, I think the frequency of Kendrick's albums is a fair thing to criticize. That was one of the things I mentioned of, we've changed the rules for Kendrick to be the GOAT in a sense, because I think before every rapper would criticize someone who doesn't come outside. Yeah. If you put out an album every 4 years, it's like, okay, you're cool, but you can't be with us who are the big dogs because you don't come outside. So that to me felt fair. Okay. I thought getting at Tim Butterfly and Damn was just wild.
Going at To Pimp a Butterfly, my favorite thing about J. Cole attacking To Pimp a Butterfly is that he had legitimate people out here on the internet trying to tell me that To Pimp a Butterfly was trash. They were legitimately trying to, they were trying to snip parts and be like, oh, this is revolutionary. And then it's like, like Kendrick Lamar, like, right? Then this apology drops. Where are you now? Where are you now? What are you? Were you serious about that or what? Was anybody? Did anybody actually believe?
J. Cole's apology doesn't change how they feel about that album. I think if you didn't like that album, you didn't like that album.
They felt validated though. They felt validated by their GOAT. They're like, see, finally. So it's not just me.
Listen, I actually like that project, but I'm happy for that discourse because I think that what's happened a lot in especially hip hop is there are certain people in certain projects you're not allowed to not like. And Twin Butterfly is one of them. And I want people to have the freedom to not like it. I think it's a great project, but I don't want people saying that because they know that's the right answer.
You're an idiot if you don't like it. That's how I would say I agree with you. I think that is one of those albums that's like unassailable. It's kind of like Off the Wall or something. Yeah. Like if you don't like Off the Wall, which would be crazy to me.
Crazy.
But if you don't like Off the Wall, people are like, you're a musical idiot if you don't like this album.
But I think that Twin Butterfly is, now we're in a whole different section, but it's such a unique project sonically that I can very much see someone not enjoying that listen. Right. Someone saying it's not good, different story, but someone that's not enjoying that listen, that's not crazy to me. Yeah. The part on 7 Minute Drill where I said, okay, J. Cole, this is where we're headed with this, is at the end, I guess in the middle of verse 2, he says, get a nigga stretch if I feel the disrespect. Your arms might be too short to box with the God who lives his life without the pressures of a constant facade. I pray for peace, but if a nigga sees these positive vibes, a Falcon 9 in my pocket, bitch, this rocket gon' fly. Now it's popping outside like the top of July. My text is flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply. I'm hesitant. I love my brother. I'm not gonna lie. I'm powered up for real. This shit would feel like swatting a fly. That section right there is when I said, this is J. Cole showing how great he raps. Yep. Now the topic is what it is, but this is a section where I said, okay, this is where he's showing, okay, this is the flows I got. Y'all don't have this. Because, long story short, before he apologized, I thought this was the best out of the big three in the past 5 years. This is better rapping on this than on Mr. Morales. It's better rapping on this than on For All the Dogs. And so if that's the case he's making, he has a case here. Okay. I think this the album stuff, the other stuff is a little bit muddy, but if your case is just
technical ability,
best rapper right now, he had that. And then at the end, him getting into it and saying, my text is flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply. We got to take some responsibility in that. None of us texted J. Cole personally, but I was here in this seat a couple weeks ago saying, I am so excited for J. Cole and Kendrick to go at it head to head, toe to toe. And we just said a couple minutes ago, he didn't have to reply. And so I think that, yeah, we don't want the apology, but we have to take kind of credibility as a culture that we were feeding that. He didn't have to reply, and we said, you don't have to reply, but do it anyways. And, that was kind of what it was. And I think the main point to me here is flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply. I'm hesitant. I love my brother, but I'm not going to lie. He didn't really want to get into this. And I think that the healed J. Cole and the best rapper alive, J. Cole, had a fight, and the healed J. Cole won.
Yeah, everybody has two wolves inside of them. And the healed wolf won for him. I think that I get it. See, here's the thing. I think all of us as adults, let's say adults, let's leave the kids out. The adults understand why he would do that, right? Why he would actually apologize. His idea of he actually has great respect for Drake and Kendrick. I'm assuming all three of them have great respect for the other two people,
of course.
Right? And I think that their ability to actually navigate and talk to the other two people is kind of somewhat important to them, right? I think that being pressured into doing a certain thing is understandable. I think people have been peer pressured before in their life. I think that's happened to a lot of people.
Yes.
So I get it. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't understand why he would ever think to do something like this is so ludicrous, blah blah blah. No, I understand.
But
I just think it's counter to his artistry. It's counter to the genre.
Yeah.
And it's counter to hip hop culture, this idea of being the best or anything like that. So that's why I think it's that's why I'm if you just said nothing, if you just said nothing, people would be like, oh wow, I can't believe he didn't reply. That's the end of the story. Now it's he said something. It was kind of the diss was you liked it. I was lukewarm on it. So people, and I would say consensus or not consensus, a general opinion was it was okay.
Yes.
And then to apologize about your just okay diss kind of shows that you're okay, he's not really serious about this. He's just not the idea of his seriousness about his work, about his claim to being the best of the big three, which
it's a competitive part.
Yeah.
I think that is where he lost it. I think that listening to this album after the apology, if I'm being objective, there's still phenomenal rapping all over.
There is, yeah, I agree.
This is some of the best rapping.
Go ahead.
From the three of them, this is some of the best rapping we've heard in a long time.
A little overuse of the triplet flow. He's getting. It's for somebody who is was so against the idea of mumble rap, taking on a lot of mumble rap stylings.
No, he's murdering that triplet flow.
Yeah, he's going for the triplet flow a little bit too much, especially on the what was the second last track. He's just all over.
Trade the Truth in Ibiza.
Bruh.
Yeah,
leave it. You can set it down. You can put the triplet flow down.
Yeah, that rhyme scheme for the whole song, I thought was a little much for me. But I do want to highlight one last set of lyrics that are not even J. Cole's. Yeah. Because I think this, to me, at least for a certain group of y'all on the internet, listen, I see you. I see y'all. This will be the standoff from here. And that's Pie with Daylight and Absol.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, I can't believe we didn't even talk about that song.
I'm going to highlight Daylight and Absol because I think this is such a throwback song.
Yeah.
And when I think about what we consider real rap now and the underground scene of the Freddie Gibbs of the world, Griselda, Alchemist, Larry June, to me, this is the prime of that kind of sound. And this is a decade-old version of that. Now, there's a section in verse 1 that says, real estate of mind, you need equity, let the beat build. Poison in my cup, I need to refill. I feel it in my gut, you niggas meek still. I inherit the earth. Like 3 wise men pulled up to cherish my birth. They placed me in a manger that wasn't major at first, but what a mess, I'll leave, I'm the savior at work. I ain't saying I'm Jesus, got the job of the Messiah. Ty and Joey block all devils, got y'all shovels, can you dig it? This is then the whole the whole verse just having a great bar, leaving it, catching it back. This is just such a flex from the two of them of what they can do. I think a lot of people are familiar with Ab-Soul as a lyricist. Yeah. People call them the best lyricist in TEE for a long time. I think Daylight is someone who people are very, very unfamiliar with.
Yeah,
So
old like 2010s battle rapper.
yes, yeah.
Best way to describe him, I think.
Yeah. I the last battle I watched from Daylight was probably 2017.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've been tapped in with Daylight, but I think for this kind of rapping to be on such a big album, this is pretty unique because I think this is something you don't see very often.
Yeah, I think that I would say that is this would be one of my favorite songs, honestly. I think the production is very luxurious.
Yeah.
I love the way that the hi-hats, we're used to the ticking hi-hats. Now it's just like, you hit the hi-hat and you let
crash,
it, you let it crash out. So I think, not crash out. But yeah, the crash of the hi-hats, right? It might even be a cymbal.
Yeah, probably a cymbal. Not a hi-hat.
But yeah, I think that crashing sound instead of the ticking is awesome. Also, the vocal sample in the background is great. I think that the rapping for most of the people, fantastic. I think my only issue is the infamous J. Cole trans section.
Oh yes.
Where he's like, my head envelops the pen. My head envelops the pen. These ain't fan letters I craft. His album dropped, it was trash. Still talking about Kendrick Lamar, I guess. His album dropped, it was trash. I litter it like I can't spell it. Is you a demon or is your demeanor for the gram? Tell us, they plead the fifth. I'm seeing hints of a trans fella in cancel culture's vicinity. He's no killer, trust me. Beneath his chosen identity, there's still a pussy. Period blood spilling monthly, rather weekly as a myriad of bodies drop. I think that any rapper at this point in time should just refrain from all trans bars ever. Like I have not heard a single rapper approach anything around being trans and like being able to properly craft a bar around it. They don't have the depth for it. They don't have the
I just think
the acumen.
I don't think you should. I think you should stay away. I think this is a bar I listened to so many times because I saw so much people hate on it. And when I got down to it, I said, you know what? This is just not the bar because of the world we're living in. Right. I think that if you take out the word trans in there, this bar is almost basically phenomenal. Because what he's saying in this such a clever way is calling another rapper a pussy, which has been done a million times.
I agree.
And for him to do it in this way and take us down all these roads to it is, very unique, very clever. But I think that there's a certain words that have kind of a trigger for certain people. And I think trans is one of them where I listened to this bar so many times and I said, I get what you're trying to do here, J. Cole, but it wasn't worth doing. Yeah. It wasn't
not worth doing.
It wasn't worth doing. So that's one that definitely was noticeable to me. And it's so funny that it ended up being in this song because that didn't ruin this song for me, but it's like if we could have left that out of this song. Because there are other songs where I would be cool if it was in that song because I can not listen to the whole song. Yeah. But this is a song I'm definitely going to listen to. So to have it to be in this song was, I think, the part that annoyed me the most. Yeah,
so I think that, I don't know, have you heard a rapper been able to rap a trans bar in a way that was like, made sense or was like...
This is the best one. I'm being serious. This is the best one. I think if you actually break down what he's saying, this is the best one. Saying someone identifies as a gangster, but they're still a pussy. Yeah. Like this is the best one, but I think we can stay away from it. Yeah. I just think men calling each other pussy, we can leave that alone in the first place. Yeah.
That sounds very childish in 2005 to me.
You know what I mean? So I think that's... Like, because to me, I always think of rappers that have calling each other pussy every album we've done, this whole year, and we never had a problem with it. And so I think that's the part that I think of as like, let's just cut that out. We can leave that alone. We can just call them soft or weak, something like that. But I think that we're still very much in the old school with the way that we diss each other. I want to talk about a couple of things on production because I think that that
song has some of the best production in the entire project, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good moments on here. This is the album production-wise that personally I think I wanted from J. Cole a decade ago. I think instead of making For All Your Eyes, KOD, all these other albums that he's making, and KOD I think is more current in his production style than some of his past projects, but I think about a song like Stealth Mode.
Okay.
And Stealth Mode is kind of a, what would you call it, a drilly drum pattern.
I think this song and the song HYB with Central C is actually J. Cole's way forward in the 2020s. I think the production style is his way forward.
I think that he's going to actually do more of these. This is something that, it's funny because I think this is a mix of, anyone heard Boss's project? This is where Boss is headed in terms of actual musicality on the project, but the drums are more J. Cole drums.
Yeah.
And so I think he is headed this way, and I think a song like this, like Stealth Mode in particular, there's almost no way he's making this song 6-7 years ago. And to see that he's the one on the chorus, he's the one who has the part that is everyone singing on this song. He doesn't need to have someone else come in and do it. He doesn't need a sung hook, because that was his beat for a while. So Stealth Mode to me is one of the clear standouts. And then you mentioned HYB.
Yeah. Same thing. It's the same style of like this. On Stealth Mode, it's more of like the thing that I wrote it in my notes. So I'm like, this is the next J. Cole step, is because it still has like those Born Sinner style.
Guitars.
Yeah, the guitars and like even like the synths.
Yes.
But the drums just changed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it gives it because it's drill, there's a gallop to the music. And I would say it reinforces his triplet flow desire that he continues to love.
It's like his safety net now.
Yeah, but I think that it works for him overall because most of his music is pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
So to do this version of drill that's relaxed, which I consider like Central C's, like this is Central C's block.
Yeah.
This is relaxing, calm type of drill. So when HYB comes on, I'm like, oh, he just jumped into the Central C world. I actually felt that.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's true too. I look at this more of like the Boss world with different drums, but Central C could be in this as well. We have to have Central C talk at some point because I think Central C, he's not Cardi B level yet, but he's getting to Cardi B level where I can feel the label searching for a single. I can feel it. I can feel it. I think that he's done better than Cardi B because he's found a way to stay more low key to where we're not just screaming what's going on with Central C, where's he at? But this song made me think of it, and I said, yeah, like they're on the search for a single right now. Like he's begging for another Doja. He needs something.
Yeah, I think that he also is making the right connections because Drake, nice connection to have. J. Cole, nice connect to have. Pink Panthers, that's a nice connect to have. So he's kind of collecting them like the fucking, Power Stones. Dave, obviously Dave.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of the people in his bag right now. Like in his sphere, he was in music videos with Drake. He's in music videos.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that for Central C, to me, his appearance here was like, okay, so he's kind of just grabbing everybody. So when the next project is coming out, it's just gonna be like a fucking Jack in the Box. You know what I mean? Everybody's coming out.
I'm so excited to see because I think that the artists who are more celebrity than musician usually works mostly for women. I think when men have that kind of relationship, it usually doesn't go well. And
you think he's more of a celebrity than musician?
He's not there yet.
Okay.
But he's getting there. And especially in America where he's more like popular as a UK rapper in America than he is in the UK. I think UK people wouldn't rank him as high as Americans would as a UK rapper. And so right now it's working to his advantage. He's the UK rapper you think of, you see, you know what he looks like. Yeah. So usually it doesn't work for men, so I'm interested to see how that goes, but that's an aside. My last production on here, I guess no, second last, because I have one more that I really want to mention. It's probably my favorite song on here. But one that I think reminds me of the old J. Cole, I call this the Born Sinner J. Cole, is Fever.
Oh, I despise this song.
Yeah. And Fever is one of those songs that I never personally was like, I want J. Cole to have a song like this. And this was probably the skip on the project, the first few listens.
Yeah, easily for me.
I think as time gone on, this grew on me. And I think this is that kind of J. Cole song that would, I don't want to say change his career because he's done things that change his career even more than a song like this. But I think this would change his career if he had more of these because these are kind of like his version of those Drake songs that some people don't want to hear. Yeah, someone wants to hear Over My Dead Body a million times and someone else is like, play Energy. That's it. And I think this is his version of that. I played this for some people and they were loving the whole project. And when I got to this is where they were like bumping their head the most. And I said, really? And again, I think this is more melodic from him. The beat is just way more calm. So Fever to me is a song that he needs to have more of in his career going forward.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think he needs to have more of Fever?
More Fever. Fever is not for me. I don't think I like the song, but I'm never saying I need this from J. Cole for sure. I do like J. Cole singing, so I think that I'm always here to hear J. Cole sing on a record. But I think that there are people who are either already J. Cole fans or not big J. Cole fans who they want to hear more of Fever.
Right.
And so I think that, J. Cole, you've made enough of certain types of music already. Feed this other group of fans that want to hear more Fever, because I think he's good on it. I do think this is a good song.
Wow, I'm surprised by that. Maybe it's because I was even talking to Chris, our producer, about the way I consume music. I'm always looking for the next. What's the next thing? What's the new iteration? How do I see? What's the new spin? What's the new remix? Right? And this song, Fever, I'm I heard this song on Born Sinner
100%.
10 years ago.
100%.
10 years ago. Born Sinner, I think, came out in 2013.
Yeah.
So it's legit. 10 years ago, this song came out. It's old. It's so, when you were mentioning Drake, Drake has some of those songs where I'm I heard this on Take Care. I heard this on, that's the kind of listener you are. I'm just it's old. There's so many other new things. We're talking about Steth Mode, HYB. I'm yeah, bro, let's do some new shit, you know?
Yes.
And I feel he fits on it. It's not even it's weird. I just think those new ideas work for him. There's other songs that I want to highlight was Pricey.
Yes.
I liked a lot production wise. I think that I guess it's a trap song, but it's really, really slow. Slow it down a lot. And I think that feature with Ari Lennox,
it feels like an Ari Lennox type beat. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah?
It feels like something off of an Ari Lennox album.
I love Ari Lennox though.
Yes.
She's my, in that sphere of Ari Lennox, SZA, and Summer Walker.
Well, she's my number one.
I'm an Ari Lennox
She's my number one. Okay,
I'm an Ari Lennox
So we gotta see Ari Lennox then. We gotta get Ari Lennox.
I would be down to do that.
We should have went to see Ari Lennox and Rod Wave.
I'm not down to do that. I'm not down for that. I'll see Ari Lennox on her ones, not so much with Rod Wave. But yeah, so maybe that's it. Because I'm I think this production style was really slow, really syrupy. It's got the trap drums behind it, but it allows J. Cole to kind of grandstand on it, right?
Yes.
So I thought that worked a lot, and I thought her sung hook, so smooth, so beautiful. I love her vocals. And it's just one of those smoother, very, very smooth songs for J. Cole. And it sounds modern. Right? Versus Fever, where I'm this shit sounds it's a B-side. Not even a B-side, a C-side from Born Sinner, bro.
Yeah. I C-side, I can't get with you on that one. I cannot get with you on that one. But I do like Pricey a lot. I listen, I can't tell you the last time I heard Young Dro on a song. So seeing Young Dro in the features, I was excited for that. Last but not least for me, is Huntin Wabbitz.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite song on here.
I like the song.
That or 3001. Even though 3001 is kind of skeletal, I like 2001 a lot. But Huntin Wabbitz is a kind of song that I think J. Cole should lean more into.
Me too.
When he's in his rapidy rap bag. When you're in your bag of I'm the best rapper, I'm going to kill everyone, no one could touch me, I think Huntin Wabbitz is more the vibe for that. I think J. Cole is such a versatile rapper. He's so good we can't take him for granted. But because has his lyrical dexterity, he can rap on anything. Sometimes he does.
Yeah.
And just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think a song like Huntin Wabbitz, the pace of it, I think the use of the hi-hats, that eeriness.
Yeah.
It is giving kind of walk you down music of the boogeyman is coming. That's
the vocal sample too.
Yes.
The vocal sample, because I was trying to figure, I'm what is that? Whoa. And I had to look it up. It's a sample called La Modella by Giuseppe De Luca and Nora Orlandi.
Okay.
And I'm oh, this vocal sample in the background sounds really good, but I couldn't place it at all, 0%. I'm oh, okay, I get why.
Get why you couldn't place it. That's correct.
But it sounds fantastic. It adds to that eeriness that you're talking about, where it feels lonely, but kind of stalkerish. It's really good, man.
I think this is the part of J. Cole that I hate that he apologized for this reason is this is a side of him musically that I think most of his fans have not seen, and he's kind of shied away from in a certain sense. I think that he did his own version of it on KOD with a song like, Count 'Em Up and those kind of songs that are more up-tempo, more trappy, but songs like HYB and Stealth Mode are maybe more his bag than something like that. So that's the end of me for production, but I think the production on here is pretty eye-opening for him.
21 Savage would have killed on that track.
On Huntin' Wabbitz?
Yeah, that would have been insane.
Yeah, we need a 21 Savage remix.
Crazy. Because they have collabed before.
Yeah,
good songs in the past. So I'm like, you could have pulled a little 21 Savage here and it would have, again, I think it would have killed.
J. Cole get 21 his own little stimulus.
Yeah, so but yeah, I think that great track. Production we're over. So how do we feel aesthetic wise? Do you think what do you think about the aesthetic of it, I guess?
I don't know what the aesthetic really that's not true. I think that from the clips that they've released, it has a certain aesthetic to it of almost kind of like 2013 blog era internet days. I don't know that this is all the way cohesive in a sense, because I do think this is very much theme-wise all over the place.
Yeah, it's a grab bag, a little bit of a grab bag.
There's a bunch of different sounds, and I think that's kind of why he made this kind of a throwaway mixtape in a sense. But I think for a throwaway mixtape, this is cohesive-ish.
Yeah, because Huntin' Wabbitz right after it is HYB, and I felt like when you listen to them back to back, there is like a transition between the two of them. So there is like the songs do fit together from end to end. Not so much from the middle to, like, if you compare the middle to middle, you're like all over the place. But the end to end connections are good. I think that, he's always maintained this like cooler persona or laid back just in his music overall. And I think that it's maintained.
Yeah.
It's maintained. I think that there's, it does feel I liked your blog era comparison. I definitely felt like that. Definitely feels like a mixtape.
It definitely feels like a mixtape.
Definitely feels like a mixtape.
I think the one thing about this as a whole that's a little different is some of the skits and voiceovers he has on here that kind of tie it together. That gives it a little more of an album feel.
Yep.
And I think this part of him, he has a line on here where he says, "If I didn't have Ebe, what if I didn't have my team? I would never release any of these." Hearing this now, I totally understand why J. Cole wasn't releasing any of this, because this is so different from how he's done things in the past.
Right.
These albums having a certain motif and being about a certain part of his life or a certain idea. This album is less of one idea than those. But I think that just it being, I guess, situational in terms of where he is in his life and what he's doing, that's fine, J. Cole. You can do that. Yep. I think he hasn't had as many albums that are that. I think that's the difference with this is clearly a time in his life, at a time capsule, and that's what it feels like to me. In terms of the cover,
hey, I love the cover, man. I think it looks dope. I guess
we have to, because it is giving that VHS style. All his little clips have been VHS. I know, I love it.
No, I genuinely do. I love the colors, the black and orange. It has that VHS effect on it too. It also just looks very. It doesn't look like a J. Cole album, though.
No.
It doesn't look like J. Cole would release something with that cover. It looks more of like if we're going to in the big three, this is more of like a Drake.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, this is giving Looking for Revenge.
Yeah, something like, which, he was going for until a couple days after. I think that, I think the look of it is really awesome. Like, something that, I would not expect from J. Cole. I feel like his, when it comes to the covers that he does, are a little bit more buttoned up.
They're lighter.
Yeah, they're lighter, and they're more of like it's a picture of him doing a certain thing, sitting on a certain thing or something like that. But this is just like, it's very dark, very oblique, like, just the letters too. I think this is maybe the first album he's ever done where it's just the letters.
I think his first one he's done with just the letters. I think from what I'm seeing his last few projects, this is a direction he's going in.
Okay.
I think that KOD is the most colorful of all the covers, but if you see For Your Eyes Only is pretty colorful. So is Forest Hill Drive. But if you look at the Revenge of the Dreamers album and the D-Day
off season
as well, those are all giving a whole different energy.
Yeah.
And so I like J. Cole in this direction. I think if my favorite artists are not going to be doing drugs, at least have them pissed off. So I like this direction for him. Is this the album that you're going to be getting on vinyl?
No, and I'll tell you why. I do think some of the songs, I do think a good amount of the songs are very good, but it's like, I don't know. I think the things that are happening around it are damaging,
staining it too much,
everything inside of it. Yeah, so it's like you get the album, like the vinyl, but like, are you gonna spin it? Because like, do you believe the raps?
Yeah, you know? That's a good point. I'm gonna be getting the vinyl.
Okay.
I think that I still have found a way to listen in that first 48 hours mindset. But I do think that this is going to be an iffy one for a lot of people, especially J. Cole fans, because are you going to be doing what we just did and saying, does he really want to be the best though? He says it, but does he, that kind of thing.
Does he believe it?
So I think that is going to taint a bit of this, but I think that this is very much us living in the moment. Like I was saying this before to someone else. What I do now is sometimes I go on the internet right away when I hear an album, and then I just don't even come back until Sunday night.
Right.
And when you listen to an album that way, it's such a different mindset, because the internet just grabs 2 or 3 things and creates this narrative about a certain project, whether it's good or bad. And I think that's what we're in right now, and it's actually tied to the music. Sometimes those narratives are not even tied to the music at all. This narrative is tied to the music, to his lyrics, to his message. So I think that it's going to be hard to not think of that. But this is, to me, something that I feel like I would get on vinyl. Just out of the songs I like, probably more than a few J. Cole projects.
Yeah, that's true. HYB, I like a lot.
Yeah, that's a banger.
Okay, so what do you think that this album means for J. Cole's career?
I think for his career, that music itself, I think helps his career. Okay. I think the music itself, I don't foresee him getting that, objectivity, that chance with his music. That's not how people work. But I think that this music helps his career. I think the apology definitely fucks up his career in a crazy way.
Yeah, I think that the apology is damning. Like, I don't maybe, like my emotions and like thoughts about it are so complex. Like, did he understand that was...
He understood.
That was like not a smart thing to do? Because I feel as though everybody, even if I were in his camp, I'm a Dreamville person. Not actually, but if I was.
Yeah.
I'd be like, don't apologize. If Kendrick says something again, you're off it. You don't have to say anything anymore.
I think they didn't know. To me, I personally think there's no way that
there's
they knew.
No way though, because in any era of hip hop, you would get crushed for something like this.
And you know what's funny? I go back to when Drake said the thing about Pusha, which we've forgotten about. I think how some people remember that, but some people don't as much. I'm thinking about a lot with J. Cole. I think this is a much bigger stage, of course, more public. But I think about that's the era of hip hop we're in, that men feel comfortable to say, I don't want to hurt my friendships. This is not right with me spiritually, that kind of thing. And I think that, this human moment from J. Cole, in a sense, is something that is not going to age well, I don't think. I think this is something people are going to really remember for sure. But I think that how people remember it is going to change. I think going forward, people are going to be more understanding. It's not going to change how they view him. I think he'll still be, it's okay, you're out.
Yeah.
You're moved over. I think he'll always be moved over in a sense. But I think as things go on and as time progresses, it will be viewed differently, because I think to me, this is such an example of the way the world has changed. Him and Kendrick are friends, and him and Kendrick know each other. And I'm sure they haven't spoken since Kendrick dropped his verse. I'm sure Kendrick heard that verse, like all of us heard it. And think about if, you to see the podcast come out and it's someone else instead of you.
Yeah.
You have no idea, and how you find out is a podcast coming out. and you're like, okay, I thought me and Angel were cool. I'm going to feel a certain way. It's like, it's a joke, but I don't want to really think it's not a joke.
Yeah.
And so it's like that, I guess, social anxiety that people deal with on a regular basis. J. Cole dealt with millions of peer pressure from us and from everyone seeing his reaction to it. And so I think that our understanding of that is going to grow over time as we all become more healed.
Because again, he's 39 years old.
Yes.
Right. I remember my parents when they were 39 years old. These people were well-adjusted individuals. So I understand. I understand it on a human level. I understand. On a human level, I understand.
It doesn't change it though.
But it doesn't change. Like, I would say that the album got damaged by that.
Big time.
The album, like the way people perceive the album, Might Delete Later, it got damaged by that. And then I would say just overall, his standing got obliterated because the idea
at once.
Because the idea of the big three is now being threatened. Like, I was already out.
Yes.
But in the general public opinion, it is now being legitimately threatened. And the idea that he could ever be number one is obliterated.
I think, you know what's funny, because we're going to get to it in a second part of album mode.
Yeah.
I think that this hurts his career in the present, but I think the future remains to be seen.
Yeah, in the thing, in 5 or 10 years from now, I think it's a smaller thing. I think it's kind of like a footnote or like a moment in time where, like, remember when he did that? But I think the further and further away we get from the present moment, we're now talking about the catalog of like artistic work that they do. And then the discussion develops again where it's like, okay, right now we're like, he can never be number one. But if he drops like 3 classic albums in a row, we're still going to be like, not really. But then 10 years, we'll be like, yo, he dropped 3 classic albums in a row.
And I think as well, the one thing why I feel like this will age really well is because we have very different views on J. Cole.
Yeah.
Me and you, very different views. But I think both of us had him in the 3 spot.
Yeah.
And so I think that in terms of how this ages is, this makes sure there's no way he's number one. But I think for those of us who were there, he was never really that close to being number one.
True.
And so he's maybe essentially in the same spot. And it was kind of like what I said about the Kendrick getting the push from being the anti-Drake is he's getting the push from being part of the big 3. And essentially he might end up in the same spot for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
But
the thing is, he put cement over him. With this, right?
Yeah, forget glass ceiling, cement ceiling.
He put cement over him where he could have possibly maybe it would have been a finesse. It would have been
crazy
something.
Finesse. and that's the part I think that what will age better, because I made this comparison last week. I saw someone else tweet it. Don't remember who it was, but shout out to you for agreeing with me. I used the example of Lionel Richie and Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And at the time, they were seen as all peers. And now looking back, we have a clear hierarchy of Michael's the biggest, and then Stevie, and then Lionel Richie. I think this is kind of where J. Cole and Kendrick and Drake are, where in the moment, especially when they were coming up in 2011, it's all like, J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake, yes, everyone's together. And as time goes on and on and on, more space goes between number 2 and number 3 and 1 and number 2. So to me, I think this hurts his career a lot in the present.
I agree.
But I do think that this will, I don't, it sounds crazy. I think this relieves some pressure from everybody. From the fans who were trying to make him the top spot, for himself feeling like he had to compete with those guys. Because I think that there's tons of rappers who rap just as good as Kendrick and Drake who are not feeling the pressure to put themselves in that spot.
Yeah.
And I just rap great. I'm making good music. My fans love me.
And I'm cooling,
that kind of thing. I think that's where he's headed. So I do think in the long run, to answer the question, it's both ways. In the present, it's very bad. Yeah. In the long run, it's very good. Because
you think very good?
Yeah,
I think it'll be okay. I don't know about very good.
Listen, I'm saying this from having someone like my brother around me and seeing his friends. The good music ages. Okay. I think that the context we have of someone's corny or they did this or did that, that doesn't matter when all you hear is the music. When you send, your 16-year-old cousin an album, they don't remember the embarrassing thing they did on MTV Live.
Yeah, that's true.
All they hear is, this song is fire. Yeah. And this album, I think, can stand that test.
Okay, I got you. Because it's like the same thing with like Lauryn Hill. You some miseducation of Lauryn Hill, they'd be like, "Oh, Lauryn Hill's fire," and it's like, "Have you been to a Lauryn Hill concert?"
and that when I think about stuff aging, that's what I think of a lot is when we take away even the addition of the critically acclaimed, everyone loves them, or the everyone thinks they're corny. What does it sound like? Right. And I think that's something that we're in the and we grew up with these guys, so we probably can't even really view that accurately. But I think this will age, in 10, 15 years from now when someone is 19 and 2034. Yeah. They'll be like, oh, the J. Cole guy wasn't so bad.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. The moment we've all been waiting for. Wait, do you think it's a no skips first?
Yes, it's a no skips.
You think it's a no skips?
It's a no skips. It's a no skips.
I disagree. Fever and 3001 are my skips easily.
3001 is my track.
All right, so now the moment we've all been waiting for. You're the J. Cole fan.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you wince? Why do you wince when I say that? Like it's not true.
You saw what he just did. We all saw the video.
You're the J. Cole fan.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear your score out of 10.
For J. Cole, Might Delete Later, this album is a 9 out of 10 for me.
What?
I think.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think this is some of the best music J. Cole has ever made. I think this is the best album out of the big three in the past 5 years. Better than Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Better than For All the Dogs. So for me, this is a 9 out of 10. I do think that the two things that I don't like about the project is I think 7 Minute Drills may be one of the worst songs on here. And it kind of ruins the flow a little bit of the project. Trade the Truth in Ibiza is actually a great outro, if that's what it was. And then, of course, J. Cole going on stage and saying, everyone makes some noise for Kendrick Lamar. That hurts a little bit too. So those two things I think really hurt this project. But to me, if you're, take away the context, listen to the music, this is one of the best rap albums we've gotten in a very long time. So for me, this is a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Wow. I am genuinely...
You didn't see that coming, did you?
No, not even close. Genuinely surprised by that. Okay, so my score for Might Delete Later by J. Cole, this is a 7 out of 10. Okay. It's a 7 out of 10. I think that the production is really good, except for the two songs that I mentioned. And the song with Cameron, I just I could not really get into it for whatever reason. But
I know the reason.
But Fever in 3001, and then 7 Minute Drill, obviously. Is there ever a possible way to be like, oh yeah, I like 7 Minute Drill? I don't think that's possible right now.
I think it's possible.
Maybe maybe in 5-10 years from now you can get into it, but currently I don't you just can't. So there's those problems for me. I think that I pointed out the lyrics thing, the trans thing was a huge that was just a massive misstep to me. Then there was also the Sticks and Stones where he literally said sticks and stones will break my bones.
Yeah.
That was an issue. And then I had one more. This is on HYB where he literally says A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P.
No L.
Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh.
I'm sure you hated it when Wayne did it too.
Little do you know, I was not a huge Lil Wayne fan.
No, I'm well aware. I'm well aware. I'm doing the math. Not a Wayne fan, not a Cameron fan, not a J. Cole fan. We're doing the math.
So I think that there's flubs lyrically, but I do think his technical rapping is exceptional. It is exceptional. I think that of the big three, when it comes to the words sounding very nicely next to each other. Kendrick, I was even gonna say Kendrick Lamar.
Stop.
J. Cole is probably the best, right? There's never a time where you feel as though the words don't belong next to each other, or there's some sort of awkwardness or anything like that. And I think that he's kind of mastered that. He's just really mastered that. And I think that again the production is fantastic. So it's a 7. It's a 7. I think it's good. And I think in the future, it could be pulled up to an 8. Can't get there with you on the 9. The 9's a little bit crazy to me. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think it could come up to an 8 just because, again, what we were talking about, it becomes diffused from the context of today.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about J. Cole 5 or 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, yeah, Might Delete Later. It's pretty solid. Had a couple drill tracks on it that we never thought he would do, right? So I think in the future, I think it will become an 8.
Yeah.
But currently today, because we are doing the review today,
yes,
it's a 7 because the meta narrative is hurting the narrative of this album.
Yeah, I want to see what everyone has to say in the comments
Me too.
About this. Where are you with a score? How did you feel about the apology? And of course, if there's an album that came out this week that we somehow are not going to talk about, let us know as well. Make sure you find us on the interwebs at Album Mode Pod, on Instagram at Album Mode Pod, on TikTok at Album Mode Pod, on Instagram. And of course, make sure you find us and give us a rating and a review on all your podcast platforms. Do you hear Google Podcasts is no longer a thing anymore?
Wow, that's crazy.
No longer a thing.
Jeff Bezos still loves us on Apple,
Yeah.
on our Amazon podcast. So.
Leave us a rating and a review. 5 stars, not a single star less. Of course, find us on YouTube at Album Mode. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.